Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Ash and Ms. Tompkins, thank you for being here. Let me say something that no one has said so far. Thank you for your service. And thank you for your patience in sitting through a rather surreal hearing where you are accused, where every time you start to answer a question, you are interrupted, spoken over. It's really embarrassing, frankly, what passes for oversight sometimes around here. And it does seem to me that this committee sometimes would rather have the issue than the information. A perfect example of that is the fact that you have produced summaries of a broad set of investigations involving these migratory bird protection violations. You've offered to provide in-camera reviews and even full case files if the committee had any interest in really going deep and understanding these summaries. And so far, the majority has not expressed any interest in any of that. So again, they would rather have the issue than the actual information. This is indeed about optics and fighting about things rather than getting to the bottom of them, and I apologize for that. It seems that we have found our way to revealing at least one scandal, though. It doesn't involve you. It involves this committee. It involves the information that the Democratic staff has produced, 11 subpoenas so far, 37 letters, 16 distinct topics covered, 125 Fish and Wildlife Service employees working full-time responding to a March subpoena, 34,000 hours, 60,000 pages of documents produced, $2 million spent by the Interior Department, all responding to these fire drills that this committee puts you through. And at the end of the day, 0 scandals uncovered. So the scandal is, in fact, the search for scandals. I want to pick up where my colleague, Mr. Costa, left off, because we have been politicizing your efforts to do your job and protect fisheries in the Trinity River and elsewhere. And it was mentioned that some kokanee salmon in Lewiston Lake actually turned up dead in conjunction, at least around the same time that flows were released into the Trinity River. Let me just ask you about those kokanee. Is that a native fish that has either tribal trust or ESA protections?
Not to my knowledge.
You're correct. It's not. It's a put-and-take fishery. It's a hatchery production fish that's put in there to catch. We don't like fish kills in any situation, but when faced with a choice of saving ESA-protected and tribal trust-protected and commercially valuable salmon in the lower Klamath and the Trinity River, it's really no choice at all. You did the right thing, and there's nothing at all controversial about the release of those flows. I want to change subjects and ask Solicitor Tompkins about something. Solicitor, as you know, the drought in California is putting a lot of stress on water managers and everyone who relies on healthy rivers. I've made several inquiries to the Bureau of Reclamation about the Trinity River Division Act, a 1955 law that directs the Secretary of Interior to release 50,000 acre-feet annually from Trinity Reservoir to make available for Humboldt County and downstream users. In an April 14th letter to me, the Bureau reported that the Solicitor's Office had given legal advice on the matter, but they asserted the attorney-client privilege. Now, based on my reading of the law and my understanding of this situation, I have reason to believe that that legal advice actually says what I think it should say, that the 50,000 acre-feet must be made available to Humboldt County and downstream users, but it has been held secret and won't be released. So I would like to know why this opinion can't be released to me, to other members of Congress who have asked for it, to Humboldt County or to the Hoopa Valley Tribe. And I want to also, in my remaining time, ask you about the litigation that has broken out for a second year in the row involving releases in the Trinity. I believe it was very important to develop the department's and the Bureau's line of authority to manage that water and release that water, and that the 50,000 acre-feet belonging to Humboldt County and downstream users is critical to defending that litigation. It may not be popular with the Westlands Water District, but we need to know what's in that legal opinion, and I want to ask you to speak to that.
Thank you, Congressman. I'm happy to...
Turn on your microphone.
Oops. Move the microphone? There. Okay, thank you for that question. As you know all too well, the situation in California is very dire, and there are a lot of difficult choices that the department has to make with few options. It is true that my office provides legal advice to the Bureau of Reclamation on the Trinity Act that you referred to. In terms of the scope of the Bureau's authority, its discretion, whether the law sets forth mandatory requirements for Bureau of Reclamation or if there's some flexibility in the law. And my office has provided advice to the Bureau. That's correct. There is legal advice in a written format. But at this time, as I sit here today, I do not have the authority to waive the attorney-client privilege to provide that memo. But what I can say is the Bureau of Reclamation, along with the Fish and Wildlife Service, is looking carefully at these issues about future planning and how we approach these decisions in situations of drought or otherwise. And as they develop decisions, to the extent any legal advice informs those decisions, they will be made part of the record of decision, and a rationale will have to be given. So to the extent they're relying on that advice, it will be something that comes to the fore through that process.
I'd ask this
Excuse me,
gentleman,
sorry.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think maybe